Hey guys, for today's video, I'll be analyzing Yelan's kits, artifacts, weapons, teams, and constellations to help you reach your full potential. For her kits, considering that Yelan is a bow character, she, like a lot of other bow characters, is going to have a charge attack mechanic. For her charge attack, it states that once she is out of the field for 5 seconds, her next charge attack charge time is decreased by 80% and will deal hydro damage like her regular charge attack. But this time it'll scale off of her max HP, which will do a lot more damage since she wants to be built with a ton of HP. For her skill, it has a tap version which can be used if you're close to an enemy to quickly regenerate hydro particles and do a little bit of damage, similarly to Bennett's tap skill. But her health skill increases her movement speed, interruption resistance, and allows her to mark opponents she comes in contact with, which will cause these enemies to receive hydro damage equal to 34% of Yelan's max HP when you let go of the skill. The skill won't typically be her main source of damage, but it will be good for energy regeneration and fast hydro application. For her ultimate, it's very similar to Jinchuo in the sense that it does coordinated attacks that do hydro damage, except with Yelan, they scale off of her max HP and they activate when her skill damages enemies as well. Now even though Yelan provides more personal damage because of this, ironically C6 Jinchuo still has better hydro application, so this ultimate doesn't completely replace Jinchuo. For her passive, it states that when the party has 1, 2, 3, or 4 elemental types, Yelan's max HP is increased by 6, 12, 18, or 30%, meaning that with the more unique elemental types you have, the higher Yelan's max HP will be, which will increase her damage. For her other passive, it states that when she uses her ultimate, your active character deals 1% more damage and an additional 3.5% more damage every second, with the maximum amount being 50% more damage per ultimate use. Now even though this sounds really good, it's actually only decent, since 90% of the time you're not actually getting the maximum damage boost, but rather a slowly increasing damage boost that averages out to be a 20% damage boost to your active character's damage. So how do you actually apply all of this information? Well, Yelan would typically only be a good sub DPS and hydro applicator, so you're gonna want to use her skill, then ultimates, before using your vape DPS, lunar charge DPS, freeze DPS, etc. And if you want to use her as a main DPS, all you have to do is use her ultimate, use your other character's skills and abilities, then swap back to her, use her skill, and just spam normal attacks, since even though her charge attacks do get enhanced after leaving the field for 5 seconds, staying on the field and focusing on her coordinated attacks and skills will typically give you more DPS. For her required stats, she'll typically want 30,000 HP and a 1 to 2 crit rate to crit damage ratio. For her ER, it's a bit complicated. She'll typically want 215% to 260% if she's the only hydro unit on the team and has a weapon that provides energy particles, and she's gonna want 185% to 230% ER if she's being run as the only hydro unit and can use 2 skills. Now if there's another hydro character on the team, which will typically be the case for charge reaction, bloom reaction, vape reaction, and freeze reaction based teams, then she'll need 190% if she's using a weapon that provides energy particles, and 135 to 180% if she's able to use 2 skills. For her artifacts, she's gonna want the Emblem of Severed Fate set because it increases her ER by 20% and ultimate damage by 25% of her ER by a maximum of 75%, which is really good since she'll typically already want a ton of ER because her DPS is heavily dependent on her ultimate, which will get a ton of damage from this set. For alternatives, you can use a mixture of ER, HP percentage, hydro damage bonus, and burst damage bonus 2-piece bonuses, since she scales off of HP and does ultimate hydro damage. For her main DPS playstyle, if you're also using her with Furina, the Marishu set would be good because it'll increase her crit rate by 36%. For a bloom team, if she's the only one activating the blooms, the Gilded Dream sets or the Flower of Paradise Lost sets would be good because they increase her EM or provide bloom damage bonuses. For her main stats, she's gonna want HP percentage or ER for her sands, hydro damage bonus over HP percentage for her goblets, and crit stats over HP percentage for her circlet. Also, make sure not to give her triple HP percentage on her main stats, since this will result in diminishing returns. For her substats, she's gonna want ER, then HP percentage, until she reaches her required stats, then crits, then HP percentage. For her weapons, her signature will be her best because it increases her max HP by 16% and damage dealt by 20%, while also providing 88% crit damage from its main stat. For a another 5-star option, the Elegy of the End would be powerful because it increases her ER by 55%, EM by 60, and provides an additional 100 EM to all party members including herself, which will be really good for any vape or charge reaction based teams. For other 5-star options, any other 5-star weapon that has crits or ER would be good, with the Silver Shower Heartstring weapon also being good because of the insane amount of max HP and crit rate it provides. For her 4-star weapons, the Favonius Warbow will be powerful because it provides 61% ER and 6 particles every 6 seconds. For another 4-star option, the Sacrificial Bow would also be good because it provides 30% ER and an 80% chance to reset Yelan's skill every 16 seconds. For another 4-star option, the Moon's Moon would be good because it increases her ultimate damage by 0.24% for every point of energy in the party combined, for a maximum of 80%. For another 4-star option, the Stringless would also be viable because it provides 160 EM and increases her burst and skill damage by 48%. For another 4-star option, the Fading Twilight would also be good because it provides 30% ER and a 20% damage bonus on average. For her 3-star options, the Slingshot would surprisingly be better than most of her 4-star options if you have enough ER, since it increases her crit rate by 31% and damage dealt by 60% if she's spamming her normal attacks. For another 3-star option, the Recurve Bow would also be good if you have enough ER as well because it increases her max HP by 47%. For her teams, considering that Yelan will typically act as a sub DPS and Hydro Applicator, her best teams will be in Charge Reaction, Bloom Reaction, Vape Reaction, and Freeze Reaction based teams. For her Charge Reaction based teams, she'll typically want a Hydro or Electro Flex slot with 1 Electro Applicator and 1 Resistant Shredder or EM provider. For her Hydro Flex slot, Nuvilette will definitely be her best because of his insane personal DPS, with Ayato being decent but viable nonetheless. For the Electro Flex slot, Verisa is going to be incredibly powerful, with Raiden having incredible synergy with Yelan and Clorinda and Cyno being around the same level of viability. And even though Flint's hasn't come out yet, he too will be around the same level as Clorinda and Cyno, but he'll be around the same level of Verisa if he has Ineva, and will probably be even more powerful once Colombina comes out. For the Electro Applicator, Ineva will by far be the best because of her Lunar Charge enabling and powerful Electro sub DPS, with Fischl, Yamiko, and Auroron being around the same level of viability. For the Resistant Shredders, Cylonen would be best, but Kazuha and Zhongli would be good as well, and for EM providers, Sucrose would really be the only EM provider that wouldn't alter the charge reaction. For her Bloom reaction based teams, she'll want a Dendro or Hydro Flex slot for Bloom, an Electro Flex slot for Hyper Bloom, and a Pyro Flex slot for Burgeon. Then she'll want a Dendro Resistant Shredder and 1 Dendro Applicator or 1 other Hydro Applicator, depending on how much application your specific team needs. For your Dendro Flex slot, Rini Onikave will be able to fit this role, and Nefer when she comes out. For your Hydro Flex slot, Nailu would be really powerful since she's made for Bloom, but Nuvilette will still typically be better because of his insane personal DPS, with Ayato and Tartaglia being decent as well. For your Pyro Flex slot, really any Pyro character can fill this role too, but Mavuika would be an exceptional pick because of her ability to trigger up to 70 blooms per skill usage. For your Electro Flex slot, any Electro character will work just fine, but Inefa will be an exceptional pick, again because of her ability to trigger the Lunar Charge reaction and her shield, which helps to sustain from the Bloom and Burgeon damage. For your Dendro Shredder, Lauma is technically the only character that can fulfill this role, since no other character can do this unless they use the Deepwood memory sets. So for characters that would utilize this set to their full advantage, really any Dendro character like Nahida, Baishu, Yao Yao, or Kirara would be good as not only Dendro Shredders, but as your Dendro Applicators as well. For your Hydro Applicators, you can use Chinchou, Kokomi, Off-Field Ayato, Candice, or Aino. For her Vape teams, she'll want 1 Pyro Flex slot, 1 Resistant Shredder, and preferably another Hydro Applicator. For her Pyro Flex slot, any Pyro main DPS that does damage through normal attacks like Arlequino, Hutao, Yoimiya, or the Luke would be good, with sub DPS Changling and Mavuika being powerful as well. For her Rest Shredder, Cylonen and Silani would be really powerful, with Kazuha and Zhongli being good as well. For her other Hydro applicator, you can use Chinchou, Kokomi, Offfield Ayato, Candice, or Aina. For her freeze teams, she'll need Escoffier and 2 Hydro or Cryo flex slots, with one of them being a main DPS. For her main DPS, Skirk will be her best, but Nubilette, Ayaka, and Risley would still be powerful, and Ayato would be decent. For the other flex slots, you can use Silani or Shenhe, who are pretty much on par with each other, but you can also use pretty much any 4-star Cryo or Hydro character. For her Constellations, her C1 gives her skill 1 additional charge, which will increase her DPS and Hydro application by a slight margin and decrease her ER requirements by a good amount, especially when utilizing a weapon that resets your cooldown like the Sacrificial Bow. For her C2, it states that her ultimate will fire an additional water arrow that will deal 14% of Yelan's max HP as Hydro damage every 1.8 seconds, which is a good increase to her ultimate DPS and only a decent increase to her Hydro application, since Chinchou is still better. For her C4, it states that all party members' max HP is increased by 10% for 25 seconds for every opponent marked from Yelan's skill up to 4 opponents, which gives a ton more value to her skill, since even a small max HP increase is still really good. For her C6, it states that after using her ultimate, Yelan will enter a state that lets all of her normal attacks do the same type of attack as her skill, in which the damage dealt will be considered charge attack damage and will deal 156% of the normal skill damage. And this state will be cleared after Yelan fires 5 arrows, meaning that the damage from this constellation is front loaded and will let you do a ton of damage in a short period of time, since all she needs to do is fire 5 arrows to trigger all of this damage. For my pulling recommendations, I recommend pulling for her R1, since even though it doesn't help with ER requirements, the crit damage is insane and the max HP bonus is an extremely undiluted source of damage amplification. Not to mention, this weapon can be used by other characters. Then I'd get her C1 since it helps with her ER requirements. Then I'd get her C2 because it increases her ultimate damage by a good amount and Hydro application by a decent amount. Anyways, that's all I've got for today. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have anything to say, please leave it down in the comments below. I would greatly appreciate it. Goodbye.